Hey, welcome back. I'm not even sure what to call it right now, but we're going to try this where we kind of mix the pod and the market close. We're going into earnings season, and we think it'd be kind of fun, mostly because we're talking so much about stocks anyway and things related to the market. We may as well kind of hit when earnings happen at the same time. Obviously, it's Friday, so we don't really get earnings on a Friday, but we figure, hey, it's like 6 minutes to the market close, so why not? I do want to start with what's going on with, quite frankly, the Fed. This is just an opinion of mine. We'll probably dive into this deeper, either in a different video or however, but I'll just give you my thoughts. Now, I think the Federal Reserve is essentially in damage control mode because markets are somewhat rallying, and so financial conditions have loosened. They've actually achieved some additional financial tightening, though, because if you look at that 10-year, we went from about 3.8 at the start of the year to now somewhere around 4.15. So the Fed is actually achieving their goal. Yeah, 4.148 right now. The Fed is achieving their goal of getting more tightness in financial conditions. They want that because that's their tool for actually controlling inflation. That's it. And if financial conditions loosen, it's like, oh, but we can cut rates and stuff. That's all designed to try to affect financial conditions. So if we look at the Goldman Sachs, I'll pull it up here, financial conditions index. I want to see how much tightening they've actually achieved over the last two and a half weeks. I think it's going to be at least decent. Yeah, they've had a little bit of a retracement. We're up maybe 28 basis points. We're still down about 130 basis points from peak tightness right around Halloween. So, they've recovered a little bit of that, but not much. Point, though, is the Fed doesn't want to lose control of inflation. So far, though, things look good. I mean, we got the University of Michigan consumer sentiment numbers this morning. DWAC's going to the moon. I know we got to talk about that. And consumer sentiment numbers this morning are telling us, hey, less inflation expectations, stronger economic expectations. Though I will tell you, one of the first things to go out the window in a recession is sentiment. So sentiment only does so good. A lot of companies have this sentiment, this feeling, this impression that, oh, yes, things are going to be great in 2024. Of course, you got to have some optimism. You go in, it's like, oh, no, this sucks. They start cutting jobs. I think it can happen very quickly. So, Mikey, what do we got here as we got 3 minutes going into the close over here?
Let's talk a little stocks. Like, have you seen DWAC this week?
No. What happened this week to DWAC? I know. Obviously, Trump pulled off his. I don't know how he pulled off that win. I wasn't expecting. I'm just. Obviously, he won in Iowa, but I think what happens is traders set like the algos. It's like if Trump win, buy DWAC. It's the perfect way to speculate on Trump. There's nothing fundamental really going on.
Nothing fundamental change, especially not to merit a 54.44% increase over the last 5 days.
It's just wild. Yeah, look at that. It's at 26 now?
It's at 26.10.
Holy smokes. I could see that craziness from this far away. I mean, it's really blurry. But wow. And Tesla this week, it's up 9 basis points today. Let's just leave it there.
Let's not talk about the rest.
Let's not talk about the other 4 days. We'll take the 9 bips for today.
Year to date, it's not pretty, but Nvidia's pretty.
Nvidia's pretty. The NASDAQ is pretty. It's Nike swooshing, as we expected. We thought Tesla might be a part of that. Wrong. But that's okay. You're at 421 on the NAS going to the close. This is an insane rally into the close. We're up almost 200 basis points on the day on the NASDAQ. We're sitting at 1.98 right now. The SPY. Let's pull the SPY. You know what? We should also plug in so we can see the sticks together here. Do you know which one's mine? Anyway, I'll look for one.
This one.
Okay, yeah, deal. I'll take yours. So then we've got the SPY's up 121. This is wild. The index movement is just crazy right now. So pretty impressive, though, have to say. Okay, we're on screen here. So, not just yet, but that's okay. We got about 90 seconds to go until the close. Let's see what we can see. So we've got here's Tesla on the hour chart. I just want to see the movement here throughout the day. What I've been looking at in Tesla, honestly, and I'm on SPY right now, but what I've been looking at in Tesla is to see, can we find any Elon sales?
But he promised.
He promised not to sell in 2023, and he promised that maybe he wouldn't sell in 2024.
He was saying, I think 18 months was his estimate.
Oh, was it? I didn't remember that.
I think he said 18 months.
Okay.
He said for
okay.
sure not 2023, probably 18 months.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you might be right then. Yeah, you might be right. So that gives some hope. And honestly, I haven't seen any kind of volume candles here to sort of indicate any kind of madness. But what is maddening is NVIDIA. Look at that rally into the close.
Wow.
That's portfolio allocation going straight into NVIDIA at the close. Now, remember, NVIDIA was one that we've been watching for a breakout on. Where? Right here between 493 and 5. On the other computer, we have a second line drawn here where my mouse is right at 5. Between 5 and 493, that was your resistance band. We went and shot through that. As soon as we confirmed a full candlestick breakout through that resistance, it was over. This is insane. So here we go. We got the bell within the next 5 seconds here. So we'll get over to Bloomberg. They're a little delayed, so I'll be your bell. Ding, 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 ding. Woo! We'll hear it live here. Well, live delayed from Bloomberg in probably maybe 20 seconds or so. We'll turn the audio on there so we can hear it. But wow, Tesla does close up 15 basis points. NVIDIA up 4.19, just shy of the 420. Do we have the sound? Are they showing it yet? How far? Let's listen in for a moment. Let's see what they got.
In late October, sort of when stocks kind of bottomed out here. And the run-up that we've had in the major indices since then, it has been nothing short of phenomenal. And of course, as we sit here at 4 p.m. on a Friday afternoon on this very January 19th of 2024, we finally get the culmination of, I think, what a lot of people have said should have happened a long time ago. 48.39 and change on the S&P 500. It takes a while for these numbers to settle, but no matter where they settle, that will be a record high. A 60-point gain or so on the day, 1.2% on the S&P 500. The other indices not to be left out. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 1% to a record high. The NASDAQ Composite up.
Thank you. So take a look at this. Look at, I'm going to go SPY here. Look at the SPY. This is your fib retrace right here on the SPY. Look, what shape would you say that is starting to resemble, Mikey?
Well, that kind of, first of all, looks like a V-shaped recovery, but we're looking at a little Nike swoosh there, aren't we?
Yeah! The beginning of the Nike swoosh is a V! It's perfect. It's the Larry Kudlow. It's pretty remarkable, though. It is really, really remarkable. And I think what's going to happen, I want to hear your thought on this, Mikey, but I think we are going to be in the situation where people are going to be pissed, like come the election, because all the people with assets like stocks and real estate are going to be like, and it's going to be even higher potentially. And everybody without assets can be like, what the, like the economy's in the toilet. I can't get a new job, can't get a raise anymore. Inflation's, still here. Prices might not be going up anymore, but I still have to pay 30% more for everything. I think people are going to be very pissed. What's your take? And I'll give this back to you, Tim.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are going to be pissed. There's a lot of nuance that I think gets missed on people. For one of them being like, even when inflation goes away, it doesn't mean the prices are going to deflate back to what they were pre-pandemic. And I think a lot of people miss that. Like, this is kind of the new normal. Yeah. So yeah, and then as far
I hate saying that, by the way. Like, I hate the idea that like it is a new normal that we're this high on pricing in terms of up 30% or whatever. Just mostly because I still remember. And I always look at ski tickets. I'm like, what the hell, man? These used to be like $80, and then I'm like, why are they $290 now? I complain about it. And then people are like, Kevin didn't get the season pass. And they're all like pissy. And I'm like, well, they're right. I didn't. It sold out before I got to it.
Wow.
But then it's also like, wow. Like, is that just the economy that we're in where people are just blowing money like crazy? I don't know. Maybe they're trying to sustain the lifestyle they sort of had during COVID. I don't know. I feel like I'm working more.
Yeah, that's kind of dangerous. And like it's best to allocate into assets rather than holding cash in an environment like this. It's just when you don't see the market going up or when it's been a really painful last couple of years, it's not sexy to invest like it used to be, right? It used to be so easy, like every day closes like, oh, my portfolio is up another 5%, and you want to dump more money into it.
Yep.
But the time to invest is when
nobody wants
good. And when nobody wants to. Yeah. As soon as you hear your aunts and uncles and parents going like, buy more stock. You should. I heard on the news, buy this stock. It's like, well, maybe it's time to sell at that point.
That's such a good point. Yeah, it's so weird. We created HouseHack. We officially launched our charter in like June of 22, and I tweeted, I think this is like either close to or the bottom. It was the SPY bottom. And then we launched the ETF at within 2 weeks of the Tesla bottom. And I'm like, I think this is close to the Tesla bottom on the ETF. So like, I mean, I'm not saying we've played it perfectly in terms of like individual allocations. Certainly have not. But in terms of timing, I think that's pretty lucky. That's kind of cool. But it's just like, I feel like we're putting kind of our actions where our mouth is, which is like, look, we say go hard when it's hard, and we've been doing that. So hopefully that continues working out.
Yeah, you've been hard. Also, there were some earnings today. There are a lot of financial institutions today. Ally reported today.
This morning, that's right.
This morning. And I didn't have a chance to listen to their call, but it looks like they have a deal with Synchrony that was reached, and Ally's up over 10% on the day.
Wow, that's pretty good. I wonder, Ally and Synchrony, because I know Ally's big in car loans, and Synchrony has some credit card deals as well. So this is interesting. I wonder.
It has to do with the point of sale finance business.
Oh, everybody wants to get into that. Oh, you know what? It's a BNPL coming. Because Synchrony does a lot of, I bet you it's a BNPL partnership coming, because that's where you want buy now, pay later. Like if you think about it, the friction right now to get a buy now, pay later loan is you kind of like, it's basically buy now, get a buy now, pay later loan later. And it's weird, but that's kind of how it is now. So in a lot of places, you could use like your credit card, like an Amex card or PayPal or a Firm card, and you could buy something. And then later when you're at home, you could go through and look at the transaction and select it for a BNPL opt-in. Gotcha. So you make a loan after the fact. Obviously, online, you can BNPL stuff right away, like at the time of the transaction. And then you have the new integration, which is like, oh, when you're checking out at Walmart, you could get the loan right there through BNPL on the spot. That, I think, is the holy grail, quite frankly, of buy now, pay later, is like Apple or Android Pay and going, Siri, buy now, pay later. Boop, done. That's the holy grail. And that's when you get peak indebtedness, and quite frankly, people become payment poor, and it's also bad because I don't think the incomes are going to rise to sustain that sort of debt.
How strict are they on like credit checks for BNPL compared to just like another normal loan?
Yeah, so a firm says they're strict on their credit requirements, but I don't really believe them. I think they take everybody. And generally what I find, and what I discussed with them, what I interviewed with them for the channel and just sort of as an investor a couple years ago, is they mentioned that really the moat for them is the idea that if you burn them, they won't lend to you again. Yeah, so they take the loss on it, but they don't necessarily take the loss because they sell a lot of the loans. So it's like they don't really care. It's the person investing in the bundle of loans. And who cares? They're just going to discount it, 30%, assuming 30% of people don't pay, or 20% or whatever. It's still potentially a good yield, assuming that loss. So the loss basically just gets securitized, just a fancy way of just saying spread amongst society. It's kind of like insurance. You're spreading the loss amongst everyone, which then enables more lending without actually strict credit checks. Because quite frankly, you could just take everybody and you just fire the people who don't pay you back.
So it's great until like there's a mass people not being able to pay back type event.
Yeah, which honestly I thought we would see a lot more of that in 22, but I think the excess cash buffered people through that. So now people are like, oh, okay, well, rates are going to go down and go again, time to go into a firm. But what happens if we do end up getting an increase of joblessness, and then you start getting basically a 2 or 3 year delayed default cycle because people run out of cash, now they're even more indebted, boom, then the default's hit. I don't know.
All right. Anything else on the market?
Well, as it comes up, we'll shout it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far it seems like, gosh, people are like the optimism around AI. At some point, it's got to die. But so far, it's just killing it, to the point where now Sam Altman is working to raise billions of dollars to manufacture chips because it's so profitable to be NVIDIA. It's like, oh, I'm Sam Altman. I'm just going to go make my own fabs. Good luck getting in line. Get in line with ASML. Good luck.
New York Times is suing OpenAI.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw OpenAI actually had a statement. I'll pull it up here in a second. But it's over copyright infringement. And here, I got it on my screen. So
my LLM stole your stuff or like read your stuff, and therefore it's copyright infringement?
pretty much. Pretty much. So these guys have 4 points here. This is OpenAI's blog post, and they say they disagree, obviously, with the New York Times lawsuit. And position can be summed up in these 4 points. 1, we collaborate with news organizations and are creating new opportunities. 2, training is fair use, but we provide an opt-out because it's the right thing to do. In other words, they provide an opt-out not because they have to, but because they think it's right. 3 is regurgitation is a rare bug that we are working to drive to zero. And so this is, I think, where the New York Times lawsuit kind of really falls in, is a lot of things are spit out verbatim, and it's like, well, they're copying, our articles here. And then number 4 is the New York Times is not telling the full story.
Ooh, tell me about that.
All right, we can go down here. There's this. They got a little bit of a rant on this one, but they're talking about, okay, so the negotiations focus on a high-value partnership around real-time display with attribution in ChatGPT, which New York Times would gain a new way to connect with their existing and new readers, and our users would gain access to their reporting. And it says that they did explain to the New York Times that, like any single source, their content didn't meaningfully contribute to the training of their existing models. So
Right.
You're just one little piece of the pie. So their lawsuit, which came December 27th, and it's funny, they mentioned, we learned about this by reading the New York Times. So that's how OpenAI found out that they were getting sued, is by reading New York Times. I wonder if they found out through ChatGPT who read New York Times.
Now that would have been a funny thing to say.
Yeah.
We were using GPT to get the day's news, and it told us there was an update on us in the New York Times. That would have been hilarious. Probably wouldn't have done well for their lawsuit, but would have been hilarious advertising.
Hilarious. I agree.
Hilarious advertising. I would have probably done it.
They were saying that, like, even though New York Times was complaining about regurgitation, they weren't actually they would refuse to share any examples despite our commitment to investigate and fix any issues. So I think New York Times was just trying to get the clicks on that one, to be honest. Such as in July, when we took down a ChatGPT feature immediately after we learned that it could reproduce real-time content in unintended ways. So, I don't know, OpenAI seems to be very responsive to this kind of thing, and I don't think that New York Times is actually upset that OpenAI, is regurgitating their stuff. I think they just really want to do the lawsuits so they could be on the news. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's so novel. It's like, okay, so a court probably has to get to this level where they, much like Bitcoin, is it a security or not, or whatever? Obviously now it trends that it's not, and that shellacking Coinbase got in the Coinbase versus SEC lawsuit, which I think will rule heavily in favor of Coinbase after having listened to that for 4.5 hours. You sort of need a judge to go in there and go, well, why? Why is it this? Why? Well, if I say that these LLMs are copyright infringing, well, maybe everything is copyright infringing. Are we destroying fair use at that point? There are a lot of questions here to unravel. And I mean, what's the difference theoretically between a language bot, so to speak, a robot, reading the New York Times if they paid for the subscription, and me reading the New York Times? If I read the New York Times and I learn from the New York Times, and then I happen to regurgitate like 4 or 5 words that sounded very similar to something in an article, or maybe even was verbatim. 6 hours later, I say, oh yeah, Houthi-backed militants, launched a whatever drone, predator drone from XYZ, whatever. And that's like verbatim what the New York Times said. And maybe I did read the Times earlier in the day. Is that copyright? Like, is it because it's OpenAI?
I think it's because it's OpenAI. Now, maybe the solution is just to cite the sources. Like if ChatGPT said, well, according to the New York Times, I don't know if that changes anything. And that's, I know OpenAI is trying to work with the New York Times on this, but I think the best mutual solution is cite the sources, provide a link to the article. If the user wants to pay to read the full article, they can, and it's like free advertisement for the New York Times.
I like that, actually. I think that's great because it's like, hey, here's you could even have for paid contents and paid content and paywalls. Hey, here's a snippet. This article is going to be about this. It also has some really good points on XYZ, but in fairness to the New York Times, for you to get those points, make sure you log in with your New York Times account or whatever. And that'd actually be really cool. You could integrate sort of a tease. By the way, there's also some juice in here. I think there's more collaborative benefit than there is destructive benefit.
And they also mentioned, for the last thing of the New York Times isn't telling the full story, the reason they think there's no merit to this is they were saying the New York Times was really cherry picking examples. They were testing GPT over and over. Of
course.
And the answers they came up with were all articles from about 2 or 3 years ago, which were already basically regurgitated by other sources.
Yeah, like the Associated Press maybe wrote them or whatever, and
Everybody basically put their hands in it. New York Times was one of them, but they just pulled sources,
got to
from
build the
everywhere.
lawsuit somehow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that's what's happening. New York Times hates AI. No, I'm just
Basically exposed.
CES. We miss E CES.
Yeah. I always wonder, like, do finance YouTubers belong at CES? I don't know. I have not figured that out yet. I still am trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. So
CES, I think, might be for like a different flavor of nerd.
but it's not like somebody who would wake up at 4:59 to order the Apple Pro Vision headset.
Did you?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. I got it, Christian. I was up for you. I'm like, he's gonna fucking kill me if I don't buy this.
So you only bought one?
I did.
Okay.
Dude, it was like $4,400 with all the stuff. Because I had to get, well, as soon as I put it in my cart, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get the smallest storage because I'm not going to store a bunch of stuff on it. I want to use it, right? But then they're like, great, it's added to your cart. And then they have the little thing that's like, add on carrying case? Yes. Add on touchpad? Yes.
It doesn't come with a cable. Would you like a cable?
Yeah. Extra battery, extra keyboard. It's like, yeah. Yep. So that'll, and they're like, they actually had the recommended, I was surprised by this. The recommended delivery was go in store. And I guess have them like massage you or something while you try it on or something. And I'm like, no, send it to my house. I don't want to go to the store. That's disgusting. That means I have to drive 30 minutes one way. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you don't like driving.
I hate driving, man. I hate it.
The only thing you like driving is your go-kart.
Yeah, I do like that.
Okay, well, during CES, they came out with a few different things that I want to talk about. Just because one of them, the last one I'll talk about, we talked with Brett from ARK Invest about.
That was fun. I want to see that device. What was it, the Rabbit?
That was the Rabbit. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So there were not oddly, there were a lot of AI kind of assistant things that came out, but oddly, a lot of them were designed to be really, really cute. Like this is Samsung's Bali. Kind of gives me Wall-E vibes.
Yeah.
Many of you here may remember our Bali prototype from 2020. I'm excited to introduce the new Bali.
Look at that. It's like Wall-E.
Other connected device.
What does it do?
So you have it at home. Like here's checking up on the dog, sending photos. It just goes around your house and it's a little camera, a mobile camera, basically.
Oh.
Now it's got some connectivity. See, in this case, at least it appears to be connected to the Bluetooth-enabled Wi-Fi dog bowl thing.
There are Bluetooth-enabled dog bowls? What, to be like, feed me, bitch?
Yeah, you push the little button, feed it. Yep. I don't know if it's Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, but yeah, it's got connectivity. So I don't know, kind of gimmicky, but everyone's putting their
that's
hands in there.
CES.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
how many
exactly.
things from CES really become?
No.
Projector?
Yeah, there's no.
That seems cool,
real.
but I don't know if it's
gimmicky.
practical.
Yeah, I think it's kind of gimmicky. There was one more too. LG came out with also their own little cute thing. This is the ThinQ.
Smart home AI agent designed to seamlessly.
Bro, you know what that reminds me of?
What?
He's like smart home AI agent, but it sounded like the Australian guy who's like, "Oh no, I don't want to sell my house
No
to
Asians?
no Asians, no
Yeah,
Asians," and it was agents.
Yeah.
that is a viral video. If you haven't seen it yet, it's no Asians real estate or whatever. Just type that into YouTube and it's great. It's this Australian guy with the thick agent. Nah, I don't want no Asians. They're a scam. And it's like, well, why are Asians a scam?
Why
No
don't you, like,
agents.
Yeah, he's like, why don't you want to sell the Asians? Like, I just don't like them. I just don't like them. And then at one point in the interview, they're like, are you saying Asians or agents? Like, oh, that's the clarification. They had a news crew there. Yeah, Erner.
Smart home.
So it's another. I think this one is maybe a little cuter, but more useless than the last one.
Personality through a range of motions.
And they didn't
facials.
really have like a a fun video for this one. They just
Okay.
had like a bunch of stills, and it showed a few different facial expressions it can make.
I
That was
think
it.
robotics is the next frontier. 110%. Like again, if I had lots of money, robotics startup is totally there. Like I got to IPO a couple companies first, and knock on wood, we can get through that. A lot of work to do between then and now, and robotics. Next 10 years. We were talking about that in the office this morning. Like, when do we think a robot's actually going to do our dishes? 10 years. That's my take. What do you think?
Sooner, but it's going to be more expensive than people think.
Okay, that's fair. Sooner, and like the first prototypes won't be, it was not going to be 20K, it might be 100K or whatever.
Yeah, I think it'll be, exactly, like the 50 to 100K range for early prototypes, just because you get it first. It'll be gimmicky, it'll be clunky. Give it and that's maybe in 5 years, and then you give it another 5 years, and it's going to be like a $15,000-$20,000 bot. Well, adjusted for inflation, but 20K bot that does everything around the house. I think it'll, within that time frame too, it'll be able to, assuming we have autonomous cars, full autonomous driving, they should be able to go grocery shopping for you too. I mean, why not?
Yes. Well, I mean, really, I liked what Brett said in his interview about drone delivery. I think the drone delivery would be fantastic because drones are not as loud as a helicopter by any means. They're annoying, but they're not as bad as a helicopter. And I think if we had drone delivery between reasonable hours, 8 to 6, something like that, maybe even 8 to 5 or whatever, even if you just trial like 9 to 3, right? You get cars off the road. Imagine if you could replace every DoorDash driver with drones. Okay, well, how many DoorDash drivers are there?
At least 7.
At least 7 to get you one order.
Oh my.
Dude, explain what happened.
I'll tell them the story. I felt so bad for this. This was the other night, and I DoorDash dinner, which I don't often do, but I DoorDash dinner, and I'm like, okay, I want the Habit Burger, and I order my Habit Burger, and you know how it does this, like, hey, if you tell us within the next 15 minutes, we can get you something from the convenience store, from the grocery store, and we were talking about eating lemons that night because I brought
because why not?
Why not? That's a different story why we needed the lemons. But I was like, okay, I see right here. It's like, hey, do you want to buy lemons? That was actually the first thing that came up. I was like, actually, yeah, I need some lemons.
Because they're listening to us.
So probably. I was like, let me add a handful of lemons to my cart. Check out. And it goes, all right, free of charge to you. We've sent another Dasher. And I was like, oh no. But then when I checked, this is why I felt horrible. I bait and switched my original driver. Because I go, okay, here's your tip. Here's $6.50. And she went to Habit Burger waiting for my order. And then she got rerouted to go grab lemons instead.
No.
And they sent a different one to go to Habit for the original pickup. And so when it prompted me for a tip, I added a couple bucks for the tip, thinking I was adding on to the original, not knowing that this is now her new tip, and totally bait and switched her. So I added more to the tip afterwards. I gave her a $2 bill in person when I saw her. But yeah, 2 drivers to get me a burger and a handful of lemons.
I don't understand how the software, I mean, isn't there supposed to be like AI these days? Like, how is it that bad that something that basic needs 2 people? I don't understand that. I guess logic, it's like, to me, the logic should be very simple. Okay, we just placed an order with Habit that's going to take some time to make. You could even delay the order a few minutes so it's fresh when you get there. So calculate in the time for the Dasher to go to the grocery store, which happens to be in the same frickin' plaza.
Yeah.
As the Habit.
I specifically went and it was a little more expensive lemons from there, but I was like, I want to save them the time.
Like a grocery outlet was more expensive?
Than whatever else was on there, like Vaughn's.
They're adding a premium.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, dirty. Anyway, I don't know how many DoorDashers there are. I've been scrolling through their annual report. They're like, oh, we got 16,800. But let me see, DoorDash, how many employees? Maybe I can minus that off. No, 16,800 is the same number. I want to know how many Dashers there are. But the point is, there are a lot. Okay, so what I really want to know is how many DoorDashers there are per 100,000 person city, right? Let's ask GPT. How many DoorDashers are there? In the United States is really what we should ask. Oh, it's researching with Bing. So whatever it is, let's say, let's take off their staff for R&D and all that stuff. Let's say they're at least 10,000. Oh, wait, no. DoorDash significantly increased its drivers in 2021. 1.9 million new drivers? Holy
new
smokes.
Drivers.
Wait, so how many just in the United States? Your guess. Let's just see. So based on the trends, the majority of the United States, 1.9. Okay, it doesn't know. It's just GPT. It
DoorDash
knows
is way more
fraction.
popular in the U.S. than in like Europe. We have alternatives there.
So okay,
you can assume
you
mostly
have
US.
alternatives.
Well, they have all
Let's
these
go with
other
80%.
companies.
80%.
Okay.
So if we go 80% of 1.9, that's 1.5 million. Okay. So that means per 100,000 people, well, let's do 1.9 or call it 1.5 million, and then divide that by the population. So what? 340, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That gives okay. And then we're going to multiply this by about 100,000. So now we should know, if I did my math correctly, there are about 400, yeah, that makes sense. 441 DoorDash drivers per 100,000 people. So that means in like the city of Ventura, there are 441 Dashers. Let's assume 20% of them are driving at the time. That's 80 cars driving around in the city, probably just going up and down like Telephone Road in Victoria, just doing like the T-shape. That's a lot of traffic. If you took 80 cars off the road and turned those into drones, GDP would actually explode. Because, see, you won't have less traffic. You'll just have more people being able to be productive. So more people will just fill up what are now the empty roads. When there's no traffic, it's fun to drive. So people just fill it right back up. It would be very interesting.
You know, I was looking at this. There's a drone company, Fly Aerodome, that apparently now they send a drone over when 911 gets called. So instead of sending, like helicopters, which are very expensive, it instantly dispatches a drone. Now, granted, the drone can't do much, but it is like aerial, aerial
well,
video.
that dispatcher could see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's great. How big's the fire? How many trucks do we send? How many shovels? I mean, yeah. Oh. Dark.
But yeah, these things exist now. I think that's really cool. What?
Walmart delivery drones.
Well, yeah, they just partnered with, that's the company that Brett was talking about, wasn't it? Walmart delivery drone. Let's see. Walmart expanding delivery drone service. I think Texas is the first place they're doing it. I'm not sure. They've been talking about this for a while. Here you go. January 9th, 2014. Sky high ambitions. Walmart to make largest drone delivery expansion. This is corporate news at Walmart. Here, I'll plug this on. Meanwhile, I'm not going to be investing in Walmart solely because of my fears that, well, frankly, we're going to have a consumer, like lower 50% consumer-led recession. Whether we're technically in a recession or not, I think there's going to be a lot of pain. But anyway, we could share the screen over here. So Walmart to make largest drone delivery expansion of any U.S. retailer. Drone delivery will be available for 1.8 million additional households. The entire Dallas, Fort Worth. We were just looking at deals over there. Walmart is reaching new heights, offering drone delivery for 75% of the population. So there's got to be like a rule, like you got to have like some kind of place it can land, right? I mean, like a backyard or some kind of like landing, like Arrow or I don't know. Drone delivery gives customers an even faster option. Getting items in 30 minutes or less. Deliveries can happen as fast as 10 minutes. It's freaking awesome. This is in addition to other like express delivery, whatever. I honestly think it's amazing. Customers can order thousands of items ranging from baby wipes to birthday candles. To place an order, simply visit wing.com/Walmart or flyzipline/getdelivery. Radius will be up to 10 miles. 10 miles! I wonder if they're autonomous or if somebody has to drive these things. But honestly, even if you had to drive it, it'd be better than you actually driving a car around.
There's a video link top right.
Top right.
Press enter. Oh,
Little
right
bit.
below the
You were
image.
just there.
I ruined it. Oh, there you go. No, see, there's no like landing pad. That's very interesting. It's just going to land on some random surface. It doesn't even land. Oh, it does touch down. That's cool, though. That looks cool.
You know, when you were doing the math for the delivery drivers, Jason Hardy in the comments says, "Are you calculating all the different delivery apps?" You just did DoorDash, right?
No, that was
There's
just DoorDash.
Uber Eats and everything else too.
Yeah, so I mean, frankly, that was 80 just DoorDash. I mean, probably multiply it by like 3. I mean, you even got to add Domino's in there. That could be drone delivered.
Sure. Agreed.
Wow.
Any pizza delivery, yeah.
Lowe's. You know Lowe's, when you have Lowe's for Pros, it's $20 shipment, flat fee. So we can order like 500 sheets of drywall, $20. Or you could be like, I mean, I think it's a total waste, but I think it's hilarious. Like sometimes you're like, you got a job. Like, oh, we really need one more doorknob. It's like, well, the cost of sending a guy to go to the store, it's going to be probably it's at least an hour. 20 minutes to 20 minutes in the store, 20 minutes back. Well, crap. You know, that door handle, which is like, you know, a $29 door handle, just cost us $29 plus, you know, with workers' comp, probably $80, right? So now all of a sudden it costs us $109 to get a stupid door handle. So instead you go $29 door handle, $20 delivery. And these people have the audacity to come with a flatbed pickup truck for your door handle. Not pickup truck, like truck, like the flatbed delivery trucks that fit all the drywall and everything. It's crazy.
Just a single screwdriver strapped to the back or doorknob or whatever you need.
I've seen
that's hilarious.
I've seen it. I've seen one bag of concrete on the back of these trucks, and I don't know if it's just like the last stop or whatever, but I don't know. Sometimes they don't seem that busy, and it's like they got one bag of concrete on there. It's like, okay, I guess grandma didn't want to lift the concrete. I don't blame her. It's a 60-pound bag, you know. It's a pain in the butt and the back. Oh, okay. So where were we?
Rabbit R1.
Yes.
I'm gonna show you a couple.
Oh, I found the video. This is
Okay,
the
let's show the video
Christian wants the video. Oh, okay, that's cool. So that's where they have the QR code landers or whatever. Okay.
Oh, probably like wireless charging.
Yeah. Okay. That would make sense. Okay, that's hot. Okay. Wow, the FPS on that makes it seem like the blades aren't moving. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
It's a perfect
It
match.
matches the shutter speed.
Yeah. The rate of the spin matches the shutter. That's cool. The drone doesn't even have to go down. Oh, that's smart. That's safe because you're nowhere near the blades. Oh, that's better. I like that better than that little dog bowl or whatever that was, the dog cage that came down to open your package up.
And what are these pads?
Charging.
Oh,
That's
it
how they
charges that
charge.
way. I see. Okay.
Oh, see, that's smart. Now that is, I like this. Now, I bet that gets tangled up and there are problems to resolve, but you know what the best detachment system I think would be magnets. You want a little magnet or something, but it has to be strong enough. That's the problem. Because they're using a hook. But what the heck? That's also on a wire. That's far away from the blades. That was also far away from the blades. That's not bad.
And it looked like it kept the food warm, if that was food.
Oh, that'd be nice too. I'm tired of. I don't do to-go food anymore. I mean, other like Chipotle's great, but like cheesecake, I'm not ordering that stuff to go. By the time I get my salmon, it's ice cold. It's pretty bad. No. Anyway, very cool.
That is cool. And it doesn't have to replace every single delivery, just enough to make a difference, more efficient, less cars on the road.
I think, I don't know what the number is, but I would guess it's somewhere around, I would say, and I'm guessing, totally guessing, I would guess 60 to 70% of shipments are the weight of your iPhone. It's the little bags with like one little stupid thing in it. Mm-hmm. Box of crayons for your kids. Baby wipes, like they said, you know, charger for your stuff. I don't know, toilet paper. I mean, that's bigger, but it's light. Yeah, I'd say the vast majority cables for your office, your home office, or your work, or pens, pencils, you know, stationery. Vast majority of stuff is probably under 5 pounds.
I could see a future where Walmarts will open up that you can't even visit in person. It's just more of like the delivery center, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which a lot of their profit loss goes to theft, so that would make sense.
Totally. Yep. Get people out of the store. Stores are, it's also probably good for people not to spend extra money. Like if you don't go to the store, it's like hard to get upsold because you're not there. But then again, you can get upsold online too. But
Yeah, online.
anyway.
Okay, Rabbit R1. Want to talk about this? And they're moving away from the app-based stuff. That's kind of where they started this. Is they're not gonna do an app for your iPhone. It's a standalone device, and it was interesting. They mentioned you have so many apps on your phone, and the majority of apps that you have, probably anyone has on their phone, they're not for productivity, they're for entertainment, which means the phone probably costs you more time than it actually saves you these days, at least with how people use them.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that's kind of their argument there.
Yeah. I actually highly agree with that. I don't have my checklist here because it's over there on the desk, but my checklist, I don't know if I got rid of it, but it used to at the top say phone equals less productivity because I totally agree with that. Like you just get so distracted. Everything takes longer. Going to the bathroom, making coffee, everything takes longer because you're just sitting there scrolling.
So, and the other thing they said is that it should be intuitive. It should have no learning required. So, like, unlike with your iPhone or whatever phone you're using, first of all, learning how to use the phone, but even if you have the phone and learning how to use the specific app, every UI is going to be a little bit different. So they want to get rid of all of that. And what they said is current LLMs, like let's take ChatGPT, for example, it's actually very good these days at understanding what your request is. Horrible at fulfilling your request. You can't say, hey, ChatGPT, like, buy me the next available plane ticket to whatever city. It can find the ticket for you, but it can't actually execute that and purchase it for you.
See that, and that's what Amazon always wanted to do was with Echo, is like buy me this or whatever. But people, I think there's a huge disconnect between verbally saying buy something and then you seeing it and seeing the reviews and stuff. But the Rabbit that has a, I mean, TeleCrunch just did a piece with forget Apple Vision Pro, Rabbit R1 is 2024's most exciting launch yet. You could show this, Christian, here. The fact that it has that little screen, I think, makes it so much easier to say like, hey, you know, Rabbit or whatever you're going to call it, buy, you know, more coffee. Oh, this is what you want, right? And you just look at it. Yep, that's it. Okay, great, ordered. Link it. I like it. I think I think they're onto something.
They mentioned LLMs, like I said, they're really good at finding stuff but not doing the stuff. So these are going to be called LAMs, which is large action model instead of language model. And so basically the LLM figures out what you want. The LAM is the thing that actually does it. And you know what they remind me of? The Pokedex from Pokemon. I don't know if you watched the original Pokemon, but Ash would pull out the little red device and be like, you know, hey, Dexter, what Pokemon's this? And it would talk back to him. And I remember thinking like, well, this is never going to happen, but it's cool. But no, that's straight up. You get like a Pokedex now in your pocket.
That's a really good idea. Do you know when this I like it. That's what it should be called. Pokedex.
The Pokedex?
They should call it that. Yeah.
Oh, the Nintendo company, Pokemon company would be happy with that.
Yeah, you put an L in there or something for language. Polkadex.
Pokedex.
Anyway.
All right.
So I wonder when that'll actually be functional. Yeah, large action model. Because I know they just started selling it, but I'm also not sure. I know they sold out when they announced it, but I'm also not sure, you know, when that's actually going to be functional or when they're delivering on it. Because people sell prototypes all the time, but you know, if it's like 3 or 4 months, people are just, I feel like, kind of going to copy this idea, or other people are going to make it. I don't know. We'll see.
Some other bigger company is going to come and take the same idea.
Or just buy them out.
Yeah, that's possible too.
Yeah.
Do you want to watch a little bit of the trailer at all?
Yeah, let's do it. Rabbit OS. Demonetized. It's fine. We can play it. It doesn't matter.
It's a very like Apple-esque ad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like an old iPod.
Yeah.
Do they say anything, or is it just spinning it around?
This is kind of a long presentation, but for this bit, they're just kind of showing you the
The device. Okay.
device.
Yeah.
Camera, scroll wheel, and then you got the little button on the side, which you hold down to talk and you let go, and that's the whole interface. I'm not sure what the scroll wheel does.
Well, probably just scroll between like a yes and no, maybe. But then again, you should voice that. Yeah. Oh, that is interesting. Huh.
There's your R1.
Maybe for like if you have to type in a password to link to your Amazon or something.
The nature of reality is a topic.
He asked
that
about the
has
nature of
captivated
reality.
The minds of philosophers and thinkers throughout history.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like voice GPT though. So like, what else does it actually do?
So it links to, let's see if I can find where this is. It links to all of your other accounts at home, like let's say Spotify.
Okay.
So you could say, hey, play this song, and it'll play it automatically through Spotify. See all these accounts that you can log into here, your Uber, your DoorDash. So if you go, hey, you know, order me a McDouble, then it's gonna, if you've signed in through your DoorDash, it's gonna know to automatically do it through your DoorDash and charge your DoorDash.
I like it. I think it's smart. I hope they execute well.
Me too, and it's only $200.
Some music. Play Kraftwerk's Pocket Calculator.
Playing Pocket Calculator by Kraftwerk for you.
And we'll stop before it gets monetized here. But yeah, it'll link to all of your things. So it's like your central kind of
hub
device. Yeah, your hub for all of your different accounts. And then he showed, oh, there it is, but I don't know what timestamp that's on anymore. Buying plane tickets.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to see that. That is very interesting. Yeah, it's...
I might have to refresh the page.
Yeah, that's right. Go for it. So the... Rabbit raised $30 million funding to date. They've got a future of human machine. I mean, it's all going to be an execution because the company could... This is a company that could, 10x in valuation or go to zero like instantaneously if it just flops or somebody comes out with something better. I'm like, I guess the concern is like, are you going to carry this instead of your phone? No. So now you have another device to carry.
Brett had mentioned the possibility of like, if you just have your smartwatch and then you have this device, you might not need to carry your phone around everywhere.
You know how frustrating it is to like urgently reply to an email or sign a DocuSign. Like it's impossible on the watch. I can't sign a DocuSign on my watch.
That's true. All right, let's see him ordering a plane ticket here.
Okay.
Non-stop flights, grouped seats, a cool SUV, and a nice hotel that has Wi-Fi.
How about fast
Exploring
Wi-Fi?
ticketing options to make your trip a reality.
Yeah. I mean, so far it's very GPT-esque. Okay, let's see the functionality. Because if it is just GPT, I got that on the iPhone.
That's the LLM part.
Yeah.
For your trip, I found various flight options, a range of hotels to choose from, and car rentals available. Please confirm each option individually for further details and booking.
So it's all been planned out. I just confirm,
Show it.
and that's it.
He didn't show
Could you
it.
come up
It's a
with a
scam.
schedule for
It's a scam.
fun
Hold
things
on.
to do?
I hate it. I hate it. Now I hate it. Dude, he didn't show it.
There we go.
That's awesome. But just
Wait, scroll back.
Are
What was
also
that?
prepared, and I can help you book tickets for any events you'd like to attend.
R1 just planned the entire trip for me. That's awesome.
It
But
basically gives you an
That's
itinerary.
like,
GPT
this
though.
is a little bit too intense. Can you
Well, it's an LLM and LAM put together. The only thing GPT can't do
I
is
saw
execute
no
on them.
action.
Dang, you spicy.
Yeah, I saw no action. Because I could go into like literally GPT, the lady right now, and I love talking to her. She's pretty good. Let's do it. Hey, can you give me an itinerary for a trip to Vancouver with I don't know, myself, my wife, and 2 children, Mikey and McKay are their names, and I don't know, we want to do some fun stuff. We'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we need a flight from California, LA area to Vancouver.
I can't do that as an LLM. Like
Maybe.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, it was still listening to us.
Sounds like a great trip to Vancouver with your family. Let's break it down day by day. Friday, arrival and exploration. Morning, catch an early flight from LA to Vancouver. You can book this through any major airline or travel website.
Can't do the action. Yeah.
Afternoon, check into your hotel and
Yeah,
grab lunch.
but
at a local
point
store.
is,
Consider something family friendly like the Tea House in Stanley Park.
see, okay, tea house in Stanley Park, whatever. She created an itinerary, right? That's the point. And what I just saw him demonstrate on the stage here, we'll put this up on screen. All I saw him show was frankly scrolling. Let me see when you have that. Yeah, all I saw him show on screen was like this. Oh, look, it gave me an itinerary.
Whoa, it spelled our names correctly.
Yeah. So, but there was no action, right? So, I don't think this product's ready. Like, they have an idea. They just raised a crap load of money on an idea. It's not a bad idea. The idea is good, but they sold 10,000 units of a $200 product, so $2 million. That's good. That's fantastic. But now they got to mass manufacture it, and we actually need to build the action. I think they weren't actually expecting this to take off, and now they're like, oh my God. Now we actually have to figure out how to make all this crap work. Because all I saw so far was very prototypey, I'll just put it that way.
Let's go over a couple of reactions that people posted on X, and then maybe we can react to Brett after that.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Okay. So this is Matthew Prince, CEO of Cloudflare. He says, I watched this whole presentation. I don't get how this is sustainable without a subscription fee of some sort. Forget the form factor and whether it's actually useful. Assume it is. How does the business model work?
The business model, like how do they make money, basically?
Yeah. It's $200 for the device. Okay, that's great up front. And then the more you use it, the more it's going to cost them in computation, basically. But if you're not paying a subscription, that's like a net loss by the end of the life of the device.
Yeah, I mean, if they can manufacture this at scale, the device this is like probably a $40-50 cost. So you're basically prepaying $150 worth of usage. Anything beyond that, they probably just honestly law of averages. You have to sell it at high enough of a level up front to where basically you can just discount all of that. And I don't think the compute that they're needing to put in this is like, GPT 5.0. I mean, really, they just need GPT 3.5, which is pretty cheap. And it's getting cheaper by the day. So Okay, that's an interesting idea, business model. Okay.
Someone else called it the iPhone moment for the AI era.
No, they haven't proven that yet. And I mean, seriously, like what happens when Siri integrates this? Like when Siri actually becomes not suck. Like when Siri doesn't actually suck.
You think that's going to happen?
Yeah, it's possible. Maybe it won't. Or Android Talk. Or what do you guys use? Like Android, I don't know, Phonal or what is it called?
I use Google Assistant for this.
Oh, that's what it's called?
I mean, I say, hey, the G word.
Okay.
And it's voice activated, so it'll recognize my voice. And then it does what I need it to do.
Okay.
And then one more reaction here is I've done marketing for 30 plus startups. Rabbit's launch for the AI hardware was genius.
Yes.
To be honest, the founder might be the next Steve Jobs. And
Probably
then
not.
He goes over some some highlights here. So like the problem of standard app-based OS, and you know, he basically like he gives you the pain points
I want
and
to read
solves
that.
them. Sure.
What does he say? So, phone full of apps. That's not a problem. Okay, so that's not a problem. Attempts. What's the Easter egg? He even includes nothing phone, a phone built for digital. Who cares? Okay, so problem 2. So what's problem number 1? That it's app based.
Endless.
Okay, but
clicking endless buttons on an app, like with the phone. First, you got to open the app, then you got to select like let's say I'm doing my Uber Eats delivery, DoorDash delivery. I got to first open up DoorDash.
Okay,
then I have to,
let me see. So I go to the app.
Yep.
I swipe up. That's 1 action. Now I got to swipe up to the home screen. That's 2 actions. Now I'm going to pull down. There we go. That's 3 action. I type in Uber. That's 4 action. 5 action. I've got the app open. So now I'm in Uber. So how many actions are we talking about there? I guess voice. So I have to push the button, or maybe it has an activate word. So that's 1.
You push the button and hold it.
1 action. Okay. And then
speak.
And then I guess it's just speak.
And then you just have to confirm afterwards.
Yeah, I mean that cuts down some steps. Yeah, if they can integrate it with all those different things, that's great. But as soon as they figure out how to integrate that, I would hope that either Siri can figure it out, or somebody will just frankly create the Rabbit app on here. That might be the way to make money. You turn it into a Rabbit app on here for $8, $7.99 or whatever, and it automatically links to all your other stuff.
Someone said Apple can't even get the calculator figured out for the iPad.
Yeah. Maybe Apple won't figure it out, but somebody will figure it out. Somebody right now who's a software dev could quite frankly just make the Rabbit app on everyone's phone
Just like
for
a
$7.99.
Yeah. A more superior phone, like maybe an Android.
Like, and then okay, it's submitted to Apple, Google, Android App Store, whatever, and then sell it for $7.99 and call it the real Rabbit or some like slightly different version of the name, and then there you go. Now everybody has it on their phone. You don't even need to spend $200 on the device, and it could do all of that stuff. Because the hard part is not the device. All they did was create the Pokedex and basically run GPT on it. They never showed a single action. So I mean, but then again, I've only seen snippets. So I'm not trying to be jaded. My point is, by the time they figure it out, somebody will have an app for it. I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It looks nice. Like the hardware does look nice, and I agree that I don't necessarily want to carry a second thing in my pocket. And I don't think it'll replace my phone either. But we'll see. Okay, let's react a little bit to Brett then. This was fun.
Yeah.
Driving out and seeing Brett, and
He's so cool.
yeah. So he works at ARK Invest, and let's go over a couple of my highlights from this, starting with over here, talking about the humanoid robot. He makes the really good point about working more even if it's lower quality.
Okay.
Accrue to people's benefit without getting recognized into GDP statistics. If we have a humanoid robot that you can buy that can basically make things to the same like quality or even lower quality, but just working 24 hours a day as a human manufacturing worker, then like the amount of created stuff can explode.
That's
fascinating.
So that point I thought was very, very interesting.
Yeah, just that. I mean, basically, you have something that's working all the time. Yeah, I mean, like I always try to think of where does the biggest benefit come in, and it's really just where you have repetitive tasks that humans do, like we were talking about earlier, the drone delivery, but also in manufacturing, unloading things. Quite frankly, I think Tesla's making this robot because they need it. They need it for their own purposes. Like moving around hardware for cars is heavy. Think about it when tires come. That's backbreaking. Just who unloads the Goodyear tires from the truck? Well, people do. Okay. Who sorts the tires? Well, people do. Who inventories them? Well, people do. Who quality assures them? People do. Who installs it? People do. If that could just that job, all the new Teslas that are created, the 2-3 million a year or whatever they manufacture, that could all be replaced. Screwing those tires on, unloading them, sorting them, inventory, quality check, everything could all be done by a robot. We'll have a lot of flat tires. Oh, no, that would save a lot of people a lot of backbreaking work.
Yeah, and even if they have some like higher percentage of loss of tires or like things getting ruined on the job, it's still going to be a net cheaper. Because when he mentioned that, I thought about think about the made in China stuff and how that's blown up in the U.S. in the last decade or two, where like a lot of the stuff we buy are like the cheaper knickknacks, lower quality than they were before, but they're so easy to buy. They're so cheap to buy.
Disposable.
Exactly. They're basically disposable because the labor is cheaper and that gets passed on. So even here, it's not higher quality if Optimus makes it, maybe not at first, but if it's a lot cheaper, that's all the most of us care about.
Yeah, that's really good. It's a really good point. Do I just, quite frankly, anything. What are some fun, cheap Chinese things? People like light bulbs. That's, I think, a good example.
That's
the
a
LED
fun
light
thing?
bulbs. Well, let's think about it this way. The Philips Hues are fun, and they're extremely expensive. You want to buy the 4-pack, it's like, I don't know, $30 a light bulb. Well, you could get the Chinese-made LED light strips or the color lights or whatever, for a fraction of that, maybe $5 a bulb. Now, the theory is maybe they won't last as long, but, you gotta discount the fact that even if I have to buy another light bulb from a Chinese manufacturer in 5 years, it's still gonna be a lot cheaper. So, the robot is a perfect example for that.
Okay, next section here. This is I think you asked him about the ETF and how that's going to impact Coinbase.
Oh yeah, what did he say? Oh well, he talked custody, eh? Let's hear.
It's interesting. Then, so let's say we get a lot more institutionally allocated capital to Bitcoin. That should be great for the underlying Bitcoin. Does it hurt Coinbase, though, to see retail, which is the most profitable trading sector for Coinbase, somewhere around 73% of their revenue is from trading, about a third of that is from Bitcoin, and their most profitable segment being the retail consumer. If they shift from Coinbase trading to an ETF now, because it has SIPC coverage, it's easier, it's part of the brokerage account, great. Is that going to devastate Coinbase's revenues?
Well, one, Coinbase is custodian on most of the Bitcoin spot ETF products. So they're generating revenue on the money that goes into that, albeit it's different, a different kind of like take rate relative to the retail trading dollars. Two, the people who are in Coinbase are typically not people who are just wanting to own Bitcoin. They are owning Bitcoin, they're staking Ethereum, they are kind of investigating the entire kind of smart contracting protocol space. And so like net, it's beneficial for Coinbase if the entire, set of assets goes up in value. And this, if anything, probably opens up and solidifies the foundation on which smart contracting protocols are going to be built. There's going to be, I think, who knows what will happen with Ethereum in terms of any SEC listing, but certainly there's going to be any appreciation in Bitcoin will likely spill over into the other crypto assets.
Yeah, he goes on for a few more minutes, but I think that's the gist of his point.
Yeah, it is interesting. Obviously, we've seen some sell news in Bitcoin and Coinbase moving by proxy of that. We were short coin there for a while. Not anymore, by the way. The inflows for the first, we have them now, for the first 3 days, BlackRock got $712 million of inflows. It's pretty big. And I would guess that a lot of those are institutional because those aren't even the cheapest. They have a 12 basis point fee. Everybody else is basically waived down to zero. And BlackRock got 712 million. ARK got 228 in the first 3 days. 228 divided by 712, that's a third of what BlackRock got. Fidelity got 525. Bitwise, Bitcoin ETF, got 306. Now, what does ARK make of that? Let's say they stayed at 228 mil. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I think they go up to 24 basis points after they hit a certain threshold. Hey, 24 basis points on that. That's a nice additional $547,000 a year of asset revenues for ARK. It's not huge by way of like these Bitcoin ETFs and that. And as those fees come down, it'd be even worse. I mean, BlackRock at 712. Actually, I think they just broke $1 billion. That was a little bit of a headline Fortune was just covering a little bit ago. But let's say you're at $1 billion at 12 basis points. That let's actually have enough zeros in there. 1, 2, 3 billion at 12 basis points is $1.2 million for BlackRock just for having an ETF in Bitcoin, which trades the underlying. So it's not like it's really hard. It's not like you're reallocating. It's passive. It's great. Good for them. More money for them. But the fact that people are flowing into the BlackRock one. Oh,
that's weird.
Maybe it is what we were talking about there. Institutional investments.
Yeah. So how do you think it's going to impact Coinbase? Like, do you agree with his statement of like, there's still the custodian?
It just depends how competitive the custodian landscape gets. I mean, if I'm surprised they like the SEC let Coinbase do the custody. I thought there would be more of a fight there. So the fact that they didn't is great for Coinbase. But all of these other institutions will come and try to take from that pie and take from that custodian pie. I don't think this is anywhere near the kind of inflow that they need. So let's assume you have, let's go crazy here. I mean, let's round this up and let's say we've got, oh yeah, here. Okay, so we're at under 1.5 billies in capital that has gone into these Bitcoin ETFs. So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that by, let's say, what a custody fee of not 1%, but maybe 1/10 of 1%. So you've got $1.5 million for Coinbase, maybe, if they had all of it. But the problem is, how much did they lose on trading revenue if now people are trading the ETFs instead of Bitcoin? That I think is a way bigger loss. And we've outlined this at eHack.com. I expect to be a substantially larger loss of trading revenues than any potential custody revenue. So I'm still bearish actual trading revenue for Coinbase. But Coinbase right now trades a lot like just a crypto proxy. It's like crypto up, coin up. Crypto down, coin down.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how much time do we have today?
Probably about 5 minutes left because we got a bunch of projects we gotta hit with the guys.
Well, since we talked about the rabbit, let's skip to that. Maybe we could do the rest of Brett next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see his reaction on the rabbit R1.
Ooh, yeah, let's get that.
You got? All right, I got a few. We'll go fast in respect to your time. I guess I'll kind of work backwards. So one of the last things we talked about was that rabbit that just came out. I think it's called the R1. Yeah. I've already heard that referred to as the iPad moment for AI, and I think you can take that to mean a few different things. But one of the things that stood out to me is with the iPad, it was a device that nobody thought they needed until it came out, and then everyone was like, "Oh, I actually need that." So do you think there's some merit to that, or do you think they're making a mistake by making it a standalone device and it should be something that's in your iPhone or Android instead?
Well, I think that you should understand it within the perspective both of corporate strategy and of kind of like the previous thing I was talking about, where like the user interface, I think, has to change if you can interact with these things in kind of a voice first way. So from a corporate strategy perspective, imagine that they were, instead of releasing a hardware device, to try to launch an app on Apple. Okay, one, they're subject to the Apple tax. So any commercial transaction that they develop through that, they have to pay 30% back to Apple. And for what? It's for Apple's distribution. But also, they're probably restricted in how much data they can ingest and extract off of the use behavior if they're on, the iOS ecosystem. Right. And so they both lose kind of like some of the data they need to improve their system, and they give up some of the economics. And I think, one, I ordered one because like Teenage Engineering, which did the hardware design for that, is a great kind of like hardware design organization. Like I want to order all of their stuff. It's beautiful. I know it'll like be like good in my hands. Like there's, so, and the price point is like $200, not meaningful. And is it going to be useful? I'll find out, And I think that there is the iPad. Splurge. Yes. I mean, Kevin's over here using one.
I'm looking at the rabbit right now. I'm like, this is very interesting.
Yeah. Well, you missed the first set of orders. You're going to have to wait for delivery. The iPad is useful. And I feel like, particularly like as a smart home control device, it's still like bulky and actually not very useful. And I think the question I have about this specific device is it really credible that people are going to carry two things in their pockets? Probably not, or a minority of people are going to. So it could be that some people are more like, I'm going to do it myself, and I have a smartwatch that's connected to a cell phone, and then I have this thing that is like my, personal communicator with the world or device, and like they get off of the phone as the primary thing in pocket. Or it could be that people have this more as like hey, this is my interface that actually works with all the systems that I have in my home, which span like, Sonos and Apple stuff and where I'm kind of like using it to control more of the home environment.
Aggregator.
Yeah. And I think that's maybe a way it will be useful. And it's kind of like a we'll see. And from the corporate strategy perspective, it's like if you look at these large language models that have been reinforcement learned, where you're providing human feedback to make them better and more interactive. The amount of data you need for reinforcement learning is actually like, it's not that much. It's costly because you're paying humans to do it, but it's 150,000 or 200,000 or maybe even 100,000 kind of nudges to the model to train.
I
that
wonder, I think he's right that people are frustrated about not having an aggregator. Siri was supposed to be the aggregator. Maybe this will be a wake-up call to either Google or Siri because they both kind of suck. And so if they can become that aggregator, like imagine if Siri or this is the big question. If Siri or Google did what the rabbit says it's going to do, would you buy the rabbit? It looks a lot like a Pokedex. That's kinda cool. But no, realistically, no. Realistically, no. It'd be another thing to carry, and I'd get less use out of it.
The reason that could be, or I think is successful now, at least with its launch, with its idea, is that people are frustrated that there's so many different apps and tools, and we need an aggregator. Well, again, those languages were supposed to be, or the voice bots were supposed to be that aggregator, and so we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll be a great tool for finally pushing them in that direction.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So in the meantime, I think we're running out of time here, but it's worth noting there's a note here that Microsoft executive emails have been hacked by Russian intelligence group. Microsoft said in a Friday regulatory filing that a Russian hacking group accessed some of the software maker's top executive email accounts. Wow, that's crazy. Nobilium carried out the attack, which it detected last week. I'd be really curious to see how they got in. It's probably because they're not using Google Auth.
It's usually spear phishing.
What's that?
Well, so you know what phishing is, right? When
with the P.
Yes, PH.
Okay, I'm just
Phishing with
making
the
sure
PH,
we're not
yeah.
like... Okay.
Well, spear phishing is the same thing, but when you have a very specific target in mind. So in this case, you're specifically targeting like a C-level executive. I mean, you could spear phish a company by like creating a fake email that looks like a real Google email, but it's really not, and then sending it to their email address going like, someone tried to log into your account. Click here to change your password. And you click the thing and you type in your real password. So it's a phishing attempt, but targeted at a very specific user or
But
user
they
group.
should have a two-factor authentication.
They should.
Huh. Maybe they're like the SEC.
Right. You would assume an organization like that would think a little bit harder about their security, but that was a very easy exploit.
Yeah. Oh, geez. It'll be interesting to see what ends up coming out in terms of how they actually pulled that off. But mostly because I love paying attention to that just so I can okay, let me make sure I don't make the same mistake. So.
Almost every breach like that has some level of social engineering involved too.
Wow.
So it's not just it's not some Russian hacker in the basement sitting. I mean, there's some of that too, but usually it's some sort of manipulation, trickery, talking to someone, convincing them like, hey, your boss told me that, I need this password from you or something like that. Like that's usually how most of these hacks happen.
I guess theoretically, you could probably set up like GPT to just correspond and quickly respond to, people who are falling for your scam. So you always have this almost near instantaneous or pre-programmed response time. So you can quickly dialogue using the LLMs to scam people and make it seem like, yeah, man, it's me. Like, would a hacker be here replying to you right now? Come on, bro, let me in. Or whatever, give me what I need. And that's crazy. Or you could even theoretically train it on the other executives. Like, imagine if you had one executive and they trained the LLM on them, and then they use that information to social engineer their way. Like, come on, my son Johnny. Like, you met him just the other day at the event. It's all using public info, but as a way to social engineer in. That would be very interesting.
You actually made me think of something earlier when Brett was talking about how, the Optimus maybe not going to be as high quality, but it's going to be able to work all the time so it can produce more. It's kind of the same with something like an LLM. Is an LLM going to be as good at scamming versus like a real human trying? No, probably not.
It doesn't need to be.
But it can hit thousands, tens of thousands of people at the same time, whereas people can only do one at a time.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game at that point.
Wow, that's crazy.
All right. Well, I think that's the way to wrap it up. Leave
Even
us some
though I'm
comments.
a licensed financial advisor,
let us know.
licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF and hold long positions in various securities mentioned, including potential short positions. However, I have no relationship to any issuers, nor am I presently acting as a market maker.
Ooh.